Hi, I'm Sherri Hanson. Thanks for joining us on the Vergas Show. Beautiful day here in Vergas, Darren. I'm with Darren Burby from the Vergas State Bank, loan officer. How are you today?
Really good. It's last day August is beautiful.
It is. We're sitting out here and we have to be just so proud of our community and what they've done with the beautification. And we're sitting in one of the small little gardens right next to the Vergas State Bank. And so when people come to town, they can take a few minutes and they can sit down and just enjoy all that Vergas has to offer. And I know a lot of gentlemen that I'll see will be sitting here waiting for their wives while they're in the shops or whatever. So that works out pretty good. And so they're looking for things for their houses, and that's what we're talking about. We're going to talk about housing today, Darren. I hear a lot going on. People need a place to live. What's going on with the housing market?
People are, we always talk about banking and how boring it is, and so we're trying to spruce it up a little bit, but it is a really hot topic right now.
It is.
We're in the middle of a large recession, and so much of the economy revolves around housing. So that's just what I want to talk about is why things are moving, why things aren't moving, why people are not spending money right now, and how the government plays a role in this, in creating rates that are all-time lows.
They are.
Interest rates are very, very low. The government controls the economy and spending, people's spending habits based on rates and stimulus packages. And there's been, as far as rates, we're at all-time lows, under 4% on a 15-year fixed right now. And it's surprising how people are not taking advantage of those rates.
And why aren't they?
Well, it's so different than 7, 8 years ago. In 2002, 2003, rates were a whole % higher than they are now. But we were so busy refinancing homes and doing purchases. The difference is, I think a lot of it's consumer confidence. People need to feel secure in their jobs. They need to feel secure that they'll have a job and that they can qualify for a loan. Right now we're in kind of a savings mode. People aren't spending.
That confidence was shaken pretty badly.
Confidence was shaken. Yeah. You talk about wages and salaries and bonuses that we used to take for granted. Now it's actually interesting. Just read in a local newspaper here, a local school district 25 years ago, the teachers were asking for a 25% pay hike, and the school district, this board was offering a 6%. And obviously now, you know, there are no salary increases, and people are just happy to have jobs right now.
Exactly, and that affects the housing then, doesn't it?
It affects the housing, and the other thing is that people really want to buy. There are people who want to buy new homes. If they're a second homeowner, that means in order for them to buy that new home, they need to sell their existing home. So sometimes you get somebody with a purchase agreement, but it's based on selling their home. And the sales just aren't there. If you do have somebody that's going to buy your home, sometimes it's a snowball effect. It backs up 2 or 3 times because somebody's got to buy that person's home. Well, all of a sudden, if financing falls through, maybe or for one of them, well, it could, all 3 of them could fall through.
Sure, that affects all of them.
Yeah. The other thing, we've kind of learned from the loose underwriting of the past. Underwriting for loans has really tightened. So people are a little bit leery of that too. Maybe we've gone from one extreme to the next now, but you do have to have steady income. You do have to have decent credit, and you know, another extreme is that I used to have people with, you know, low to mid 500 credit scores, and I could find them a home loan. Whereas right now it's nationally that you have to have a 620 credit score minimum to qualify.
So you're missing a whole segment of people there, aren't you, with that? Yeah.
Yep, you are, and you also hear about low rates. Well, the lowest rates are only for the excellent borrowers. So if you're looking at a 740 credit score or higher, those will get you the preferred rates. That's an excellent credit score. If you've got a 650, 660, which is still a very good credit score, you're not going to get the preferred rates. So they only want the cream to qualify for these excellent rates.
Well, and that goes back to everything that you've always said, Darren, about the young people understanding how important their credit rating is going to be anytime that they get into a situation where they're going to need to borrow money.
I invite anybody to come in to visit about credit, because that's something that I really like to discuss, and how important it is for a young person especially. One other thing I want to talk about is the fact that I want to touch on appraisals.
Yes.
Sometimes people will come in and they want to refinance their home, but they don't really know what their home is worth. Appraised values over the last 10 years have been like this, and then about 3 years ago they leveled off, and now they're coming down. The problem that's affecting the appraisals is that there are some foreclosures out there, and that when those foreclosures sell, they sell at a much lower price, and that brings down everybody's values on their own homes.
Sure does.
So, you know, when people get confused about appraisals, there's 3 different types of appraisals. There's a cost approach, there's a market approach, and there's an income approach. An income approach appraisal is basically for a rental property. What kind of income is it going to support? The cost approach is when you're building a home and you know what this is the cost you got in it, so it should appraise for that or more. The residential homes are based on market approach. So they're based on what the market is bringing in the area for a similar home. So sometimes you say, okay, I got a client that comes in and he says, okay, just for round numbers, what's your home worth? Well, it's worth about $200,000. You know, we feel confident that it is, but they owe $150,000 on it. They want to refinance the $150,000. We go ahead and we get an appraisal. And the appraisal might come in for $160,000 or $170,000. And it's not the borrower's fault. It's nobody's fault. It's just the market,
just the way that the market
is bringing that much lower of a value. So sometimes people aren't able to refinance because they owe maybe a little bit more than what the lender is willing to.
So what do you advise people to do, you know, on that?
Well, sometimes you just have to sit, you know.
Okay.
And I think that's why we're not so busy right now, is because people are just a little leery. They don't know what their place is going to appraise for. So they're just kind of sitting and saying, you know what, I've got a 5% rate, or I got a 5.25% rate. I'll sit with it and pay it down, and pay down my bills, as opposed to taking out new money.
Right.
And
taking care of what you have.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that's probably the best advice you can be giving people right now, isn't it?
Well, it is. Unless you're totally, you know, the government wants us to spend money,
yeah, right.
so you know it's kind of a fine line. You need to keep the economy going, and we'll be in this lull until consumer confidence turns around. People are comfortable with their jobs. Housing starts to go up again. Values go up. But it kind of goes in cycles, and we are in a down cycle.
We definitely are in a down cycle. Where do you see our cycle at, Darren?
I wish I knew. You know, we might be. I'm sure we're a year and a half off before things start to turn. But it's okay. You know, it's okay for consumers to be in a savings mode.
Yeah, it is.
We haven't been there for many years.
Yeah.
So.
And I know that you welcome anybody to come in and visit with you, like you said about crediting, about any of the refinancing. You never know if it's going to be a fit that works out. And the bank is open on Monday through Friday from 8 until 3. I know you take appointments later than that, so that's not an issue. And of course, Saturday mornings, our walk up and drive up is from 8:30 until noon. So thanks, Darren, for joining me today. Thanks for making banking not so boring.
You're welcome. We'll keep trying.
All right. You have a good day in Vergas.